Let's go.
Recording in progress. All right. We were supposed to go live today on Facebook and on Instagram, but we were having some technical difficulties. So we've decided we're going to have this conversation today recorded. And I hope that you are tuning in right now, connecting with us, and really excited to listen to our conversation with Reese today because I know here in our community, many of you I've noticed are getting on with writing your books, and I've seen several of you already publishing your books, getting your stuff out. Really, really great stuff. And I'm really glad that you are finding the courage to write your books, put it out there, and share it with the world. And for many of us, we are mostly entrepreneurs, visionaries, heart-centered entrepreneurs in our community, and we are writing our books to share our message, to share our brand. It's part of our coaching business. And it's our way to share with the world what we're about, what we do, what is our message, and what we have to offer. And so when you are using your books in this way, you really need to consider the whole package. And this should include how you're presenting yourself through the contents of your book, through your cover, through your book description, and of course, never ever forget your author bio. And so for today, I've invited my very good friend, Reece Backhouse. He's an Amsterdam-based energetic copywriter. I don't know if some of you have already heard of this title, but and we know about copywriters, right? But Reese is specializing in this. Like he's an energetic copywriter, and his focus is on rewriting stories and copy to reflect a more current and true portrayal of who authors are by adding their energetic stamp to the passage used in describing them. So that's what we're going to talk about today, how to capture your energetic stamp onto your author page. So, warmest welcome, Reese. I'm so delighted that you've joined us today. And for some people, they probably haven't heard of what an energetic copywriter is. So, tell us a little bit more about what exactly do you do and how is this different from what I would say most copywriters do?
Yeah, well, thanks for the introduction there. You said it beautifully. Um, I love how you introduced a lot of the people in your network as heart driven because that's what a lot of us are building business out of now. It's a heart driven purpose, and I think there's quite a predominant change in the business paradigm to how people are setting up business and driving business, and it's becoming a lot more heart focused, heart centered. So for me, what I offer as energetic copywriting is to really capture the essence of people in why and what they do, what and why they do it. And the importance for me of the energetic part is to sort of go behind the scenes to capture who you are as an author and who you are as a business. So I find that a lot of the times people identify with a story which relates to their past and their outlook on life. Um, and it's those kind of things that capture the energy of you. So it's what makes you unique, what makes you identifiable to your audience, and brings an element of human connection into the marketing of the publication that you've produced.
Yes, and I have to say, Reese, for most of the times that we have our conversations, whenever we talk to each other, we often talk about energy, and
Mm,
you talk about this energetic stamp. For us, this is quite the norm for us now, but for those who
mm.
aren't really familiar with this, like what exactly is an energetic stamp? If people are just used to marketing and just using words to actually tell what they do and what they offer, what exactly is this energetic stamp? Is this something that is tangible, or yeah, for someone who's never heard of it before, what exactly do you mean by that?
Mm. It's kind of like so let's say when we handwrite our signature, it's what identifies us, right? Our energetic stamp or our energetic signature is that same concept. It's what identifies you from somebody else. So I think um yeah, it's what makes you authentic. And I say authentic in a sense of what identifies you. Authentic to me can sometimes be quite a generalistic term, because are you authentic because you're happy? Are you authentic because you are being yourself? Or let's look at the happiness scale. If you are happy, what makes you happy? That's your authenticity, right? So it's going a little bit beyond than just being authentic. What is authentically you? You know, what is that spark that people are drawn to when you walk into a room? What is that part of you that makes people attracted to you? So when we talk about your energetic stamp and using it in your author bio or marketing, it's not about saying or marketing or describing what your audience wants to hear. It's about saying, who are you? And magnetically drawing them into you, and what you have to offer. So it's those little elements or the essence of you that can be a very, very much a visceral feeling, a visceral connection. And that's what it identifies and makes beautiful, a human to human connection. And it's kind of wrapping that up into sort of a more graceful way, in descriptive words.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you said there. It's almost like a visceral feeling when you meet someone, or even when I read books. I don't know about you, like even as you hold the book, there is an energy to it. And when you
Mm.
actually read the author bio, you see the image. There is an energetic stamp to it. And we're not even sure if that energetic stamp is actually the authors, or is that the publishers or someone else. But there is something there that makes you feel something.
Mm.
um it's actually quite difficult to put into words if you don't have the vocabulary for it. But
Yeah.
it is a visceral feeling, and we want to make sure that, as far as our books go, and as far as the author bio goes, it is actually ours. It's our
Mm.
energetic stamp, and not someone else, because that's the way that you can, what you said, magnetize your ideal readers, and maybe even repel the ones that you don't want in your feed.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And as an author, I think you create this kind of visual storytelling, right? And a lot of people connect through visual. So they create this world of imagination through the words that you use for your book or for your story. And I think what's important with the author bio is it's kind of, you look at it as like a non-visual storytelling, because you want to capture that energetic stamp, that energetic essence of you. So, yes, we are creating a visual, but a lot of times you might want to feature a photo of yourself which is already offering the visual. So the description that comes with it is kind of like that non-visual storytelling. It's giving the audience or the reader a glimpse of you. So many people pour their heart and their soul into writing a book and writing a story. So why leave out that part of your heart and soul about who you are as the author?
Yeah, yeah, that's really important. So we've sort of touched on in some of the elements, like why we should care about this. You really want to project who you really are, and you want to magnetize, the people you want in your field. Are there any other benefits for capturing your energetic stamp onto your author page? What are the benefits, and why is it so important that we do this?
I think it's also about the pride that you should feel for yourself for sort of birthing this project. It's a sort of sealing the envelope for this magic that you've created. So by having your story or having your bio written with from this energetic standpoint, it can leave you feeling with this sense of pride, this sense of joy for your achievements, and that's the energy that can come through when you're speaking to your audience. So, a lot of the times we hide behind our business. We portray ourselves as a business, but when we portray ourselves as the human behind the business, then it creates a more fuller, inviting package for the audience or for the reader. And in turn, yeah, like you say, you're sort of eliminating the people that might not necessarily be the ones that you want to benefit from your work, and you're really sort of zoning in on the people you do want to connect with, and share with. So it's also, yeah, about pride and feeling good about yourself and what you've produced. In the same way that if you look at a photo of yourself, if you see a really good photo that somebody's taken of you, it makes you smile, right? It makes you really happy to see yourself portrayed in that way. And that's just one area that we can describe ourselves is if through photography or through visual. So letting those words speak and connect as well can have as much of a joyful impact as a photograph.
Yeah, I have to say, Reese, I love that you talked about that pride, because I've noticed for some of my clients, like they would publish their books and then they have their author bio. We would have one of these live chats, and I would read their author bio. They would listen to it, and they are like, I can't believe that you're describing me, but it's actually me. Like, it gives them a really sense of, wow, I'm an amazing human being. It's,
Mm.
and to be able to capture that and to share that with the world, it gives them that sense of, have I forgotten that this was me? Thank you for reminding me. And, for you to be able to share that with others and reaffirming that, I think it's actually quite beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like what we were saying earlier about going beyond what is just like a professional description or a CV. Yes, that works many times for a lot of people, but when you take too much of a professional stance, you're losing that personality. And there's not to say that you can combine them both. You can be this big personality taking the professional avenue for promoting yourself, but bringing back that joy and that sort of spark like essence of who you are, yeah, it creates that feeling for yourself as well, that pride and that joy for what you've done and who you are.
Yeah, and especially for the community we're in, for heart-centered, mission-driven, purpose-driven people, they have this vision, they have this mission, that they want to make an impact in the world. The ones who actually do pay attention to their author bio, they don't just list their qualifications and professional experience. They actually pour their passion, and it comes
Mm,
across in the author page. If they are passionate about, let's say, women's empowerment, or if they are, passionate about, nature, and it does come across in their author page. So when it comes to writing a good about me page or author bio, I'm sure there are so many templates online already, but from the standpoint of mission-driven, purpose-driven entrepreneurs, what sort of elements would you encourage them to incorporate in their author bio, that will really help them to capture that, that energetic stamp?
mm. Um, let's take, for example, somebody that's just produced a recipe book or a cookbook. I think it would probably go without saying that the author or the chef or whoever produced that has a passion for food, right? That's something that's probably a given. But then if you describe why you have that passion or where that passion came from, um, it can sort of touch people in a different way of experiencing the food and the recipes than just using it as creating a meal. You're creating a connection, you're creating a moment, you're creating an activity by connecting to the author of this recipe book. What was their first experience with food and cooking, and why did it capture them? What was so beautiful about a simple pasta dish with minimal ingredients that has such an amazing impact? That's what people want to see, want to hear. And when, for example, you produce a series, people get to know your identity as a writer, and that's what they connect with. People say, oh, I love this author, I love that series. I'll always pick up whatever they've written. But that's probably because through the writing, they're getting to know them. That's getting an energetic connection. That's getting more human to human. So in terms of these templates and things that you can just download, yes, it's great. It gives you an idea, but how much are you going to sort of match that template to who you are? Are you going to use that as a base, or are you going to use that as the product? So there's so many authors that use great designers for the illustrations and great photography everything. So why miss out that last part, which is, I think, the most important part? It's you.
Yeah, I think, I love that example that you've given, especially, for someone who's written a cookbook, for example. To be able to share why they are so passionate about this, the story behind it, it actually does make that connection, because if someone is looking for a cookbook, maybe they also want to cultivate that passion in food. That's why you're sort of welcoming your tribe, if you like, people who you are meant to serve. They get magnetized because you are being true and open, and putting your energetic stamp and attracting them in that way. I want to ask a very specific example, because for many of the people inside the community, many of them are life coaches. There are so many who are, helping others recover from trauma. There are so many who have been, hurt, and found a way to heal themselves and recover from trauma, and they want to, help others do the same. How would you help them, like, in terms of writing the author bio? Some of them might say, okay, they can just read my book and learn my story there, but how can you incorporate that in their author bio without having to dive in too much into the book itself?
Mm. Yeah, that's a great example to use, because when you're writing for this type of topic and you're writing from personal experience, with an ambition to sort of help and serve others, it can be quite a vulnerable process to put that experience into words. Um, so to sort of go through that vulnerability and relive those chapters in your life to sort of produce this book, it can probably be quite draining. That by the end you're like, all right, that's enough vulnerability for me now. It's all in the book. But then again, you want to sort of give a little bit beyond what is in the book. And it can be, how did you feel when you were writing that? And a lot of that would be included in the book, but how did you feel when you decided to write that book? What do you do when you weren't writing? Who are you now? Who are you as the author, not maybe the victim or the person who went through something that led to you writing this book? And yeah, like you say, in this network of people, of authors, there's so many heart-driven publications out there. Just blow it wide open, put it all out there and put it into who you are. Like, sign it off with pride, sign it off with the true authentic happiness, sadness, joyfulness, whatever that authenticity is to you. So I think that's the sort of last, like, crossing the T's and dotting the I's. It's the last bit of vulnerability about who you are. And it doesn't have to be so personal that it makes you feel uncomfortable, but having that personality in your author bio adds another layer of connection to the human to human exchange that we want to have.
I love it. I mean, yeah, for many people who are writing these books, for those who are writing memoirs or writing this, almost like, this is my story and I survived this trauma. It's almost like writing the book is opening a can of worms. But
Mm.
when they write the author bio, you can't really see it anymore, because it's already in the book. So if you want your people to actually really understand where you're coming from, and if you've been through that transformational process of healing, share it in your author bio as well. Another question that I wanted to ask, Reese, is because I've noticed that there are many author bios out there, especially those who have been trained from the mainstream marketing paradigm. They would say you need to know your ideal client avatar, and some of them would write the author bio in the second person, like, instead of talking about themselves, which they do for a little bit. They talk directly to the reader in the author bios, like, I serve blah blah blah, so I can help you blah blah blah. How do you feel about that?
I think that one, they're both really valid, because it's what you feel comfortable with. Do you prefer to be spoken of, or do you prefer to speak about? One way to look at it is like, you might feel more comfortable in using yourself, being spoken of. But why do you not want to speak for yourself? Is there a reason why you choose one or the other? And if there's one, if you don't want to speak about yourself, is that a confidence issue? Is that finding the right words? Or is it, can you take ownership? Can you hold that ownership and embody those words that you want to say? Or does it feel more comfortable to have someone speak them for you? So either way, you might struggle to find the words. Therefore, you have somebody help you to sort of collate that passage. But I think, yeah, they're both very valid ways to sort of express yourself. And it just depends, are you doing it for the right reasons? Are you speaking for yourself or being spoken for the right reasons?
I think that's what I love about you. You're not really writing it for people, like you're coaching them, and it's a really great way to have that conversation and really dig deep into the intentions and really making sure that you are aligned to your purpose, and having that reflected in your author bio. You also did mention something about, helping others to capture if you don't have the vocabulary and if you don't have the words. For someone like me whose first language is not English, we might want to say something easily. We can easily
Mm.
express it in our native language, but because of our vocabulary, we might mean something, but mean something else
Yeah.
in English. So can you say a little bit about that, and how are you able to support authors whose first language is not English?
Yeah, this is really a beautiful one, because sometimes I work with people and they can write what they want to say, like in their native language, run it through a translation program or translate it themselves because they speak fluent English. But when they read it in English versus their native language, it doesn't quite have that same eloquent flow to it. So working together on a sort of translation basis is finding those right words, because it might not be a direct translation of what you're trying to say. So
Yes.
it's sort of wrapping it up in that more graceful way that fits both your mother tongue and English as a second, third, fourth language, for example.
Yeah, because from my experience anyway, and especially with authors also whose first language is not English, because we learned English in school, there's a certain structure and formality on how we write stuff. So when you want to write something with more heart and more emotion, when you've been trained in a very formal, structured way of using English,
Mm,
it doesn't quite capture the heart so much.
mm.
So it does help to to have someone coach us, and show that you can actually say it in this way. I
Yeah,
know what you mean, especially
yeah,
when you have conversations like this and you actually get to know the person instead of just writing it for them. You're able to dig deep into the intentions and the motivations and what exactly do they mean, and
yeah.
able to capture it in English.
Yeah, and that's why I love to sort of incorporate both the coaching side of my business and the copywriting, because sometimes people just find, I don't know if you've ever had this, but sometimes you just say like, oh, I can't quite find the words for what I say. It's more of a feeling, right? So if you say, why do you love this or that person? What is it about that sparks so much passion for you? And you might find yourself thinking, yeah, I don't know. It's just a feeling. And that's a beautiful example of the visceral connection that people can have between each other. So bringing in this sort of environment of coaching and copywriting, it helps you to dig a bit deeper to find the words that you want to put for that feeling. How do you want to, sign off with that feeling in words? So it's also delving deeper into like, who are you, as to what you want to say about yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And Reese, before we close this, you know that AI is on the rise. People are talking about ChatGPT. I've played around with it. I have to say it has some, pros, but when it comes to writing author bios and things that are personal, it's not really doing a good enough job when
Mm.
doing that. So what's your stance when it comes to AI and chat GPT and all these tools that people can now use to write all sorts of stuff, including the about me, author bio page?
Yeah, I think it's a great innovative tool, and I think it goes the same with any kind of technology. What is the intention that you're using it for, and how are you using it? Are you using it with caution? Are you using it with care? Are you using it for the right reasons? Um, so not to say that it's a terrible thing to do, but if you're using it to bypass something, if you're using it to bypass maybe that struggle of writing about yourself, are you going to be happy that that's how you're presented? Because for me, it can feel very hollow or very journalistic to use these sort of generating programs. And again, it can be a passage written in the most beautiful way, but is it a human to human connection? Is it, behind that those words, is there your energy? Are you putting your energy into that? Are you putting your heart into that in the same way you wrote your book? Because you could use these programs to write a book, but is that going to be a product of your work, a result of you and your passion? Is that going to be the heart driven purpose that so many of these authors are driven by? So yes, I agree that they're a great innovation, but you have to think of the intention that you're using it. And I think, again, what I said at the beginning is creating more of a visceral connection, a more human to human connection. That's what's missing when you're using these chat programs.
Yeah, and I have to say, Reese, when it comes to authors, there were some people who felt threatened that they're going to lose their job, and because these programs can write, on their
Mm.
behalf. But for us authors, and for us who actually do love writing, the process of putting your thoughts into words is actually quite liberating, and it,
Mm.
it gives you that space to actually process your ideas. It takes time to think about these thoughts and actually find the words to translate them into actual written words on paper. And when it comes to writing your bio, your author bio, it gives you that space to really reflect on who you are, what you stand for, how you want to represent yourself. So it's
Mm.
not just putting your author bio out there and that's it. Thank you very much. It's done. There's quite a liberating process involved. You're given this space, this time to actually reflect on who you are, what you stand for, and how you want to show yourself to the
Yeah.
world. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think if you think of like the author bio being maybe like the last part of this project, then you're kind of like, okay, we're at the end. We're going to check out. We're going to write the author bio and seal the deal, and I'm done. I move on. But you can also see it as like, okay, I'm checking in now. I've done everything behind the scenes. I'm going to check in now with this process, checking in with my audience. I'm going to check in with this new chapter and this new stage of selling my book. So yeah, do you see it as a sort of checking out or a checking in or a next step or a closure? So that's again the energy that you're putting behind it. And just to sort of touch back on what you were saying about this sort of GPT, it's the same. The same would go for like a photographer, right? If you go through the process, the motions of having a photograph taken for your author bio, there's so much more process to it than just having an AI produced image. That's not really the true reflection. You haven't gone through that process of working with the photographer to capture that beautiful image of you. So the same could be said for photographers. It's like, oh, okay, I'm worried that I'm going to be out of work because AI is getting so efficient at creating images. Is it the same as a photograph? Does it have that energetic pack behind it? That's kind of the same as I see it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why it's really important that we are talking about this topic right now, this thing around energy, because you could have all these tools creating content for you, but is it actually you? Is it actually your energy? Because it
Mm,
really does matter, when if you really want to magnetize and attract the people, get that connection with the people you are meant to connect with. It's really important that you take this into consideration, and find the time and the space to actually do it, and do it right. So, Reese, do
yeah.
you have any final points before we close? Any parting message that you want to leave our audience?
I would just say, like, don't underestimate the impact that your energy can have on other people. And that's not just about being there physically, but again, it can be through your words, it can be through your visuals, it can be through so many more avenues than just physically being there. So, that's what I would say, is don't underestimate the impact that your energy can have on others. And take pride in it and express it and show up and embody it and own it.
I love that, take ownership of your energy, and, just really embody it, and own it. So,
Yeah.
Reese, if people want to get in touch, if they want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
Well, for your audience, I'm in on obviously the network there. Otherwise, my website is reecebackhouse.com. Very simple, just my name, and same for my socials, and many ways to reach out if people want to hear more or explore any more options.
Wonderful. So, I love this conversation. I knew that this is gonna be really fantastic. It's you always also make me smile every time we chat. There's something about your energy. There,
Yeah, that's
there's
really
something
lovely to
about your
hear.
energy that
Yeah.
makes me, very grounded and calm. And it's just nice having this conversation with you. So, everyone, I hope that you found this conversation helpful. I'll leave all the links in the description if you want to connect with Reese. And yeah, I hope that you found this helpful. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and we'll be in touch. So thanks again, Reese. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll catch up again next time. Take care.
Thanks, Emmy. Cheers.
Bye for now. Bye.